Shauna Fields was standing behind her boss desk at 6:30 in the morning, looking out the window. She performed this ritual every day after she made the specialty imported coffee and prepared the appointment schedule and necessary notes for her boss, Tate Morgan. He was the CEO of the corporation started by his father, Winston Morgan. His mother served as the chairman of the board, and his sister still had a paying job as public relations manager, but she hasn't worked actively since her husband Alan Brown ran for the Senate a few years before. She watched out the window, sipping her Folgers coffee, until she saw his silver Jaguar pull into the lot, which happened between 6:30 and 7 every morning. She had his schedule so exact, she knew that he woke up at 5 and was on his treadmill by 5:15, where he watched the news while he jogged for a half hour. It was important to her to wait until he was there to pour a fresh cup of coffee and have it hot and waiting for him. She also had a carafe of ice water and a kind bar waiting for him. They were such small, unnecessary things to do for him, but she would do anything for him. Her personal mantra was to go above and beyond, but especially for him. She saw him pull in and went to pour the cup of coffee. It was sitting on his desk and she was at hers when he walked in the door. She looked up from her tablet and took in her favorite part of the day. It was the moment he walked in. She watched the friendly, tall, broad-shouldered blond man walk in as if he owned the room. He never failed to wear a crisp, expensive suit and was always clean-shaven, never scruffy. His hair was short and conservatively styled with a side part. She admired his rhythmic stride and large hands as he opened the door carrying his briefcase with his topcoat across his arm. He smiled when he saw her and she could swear his blue eyes sparkled. "Good morning, Mr. Morgan." "Good morning, Shauna," he answered. "How is my favorite assistant today?" "Great, sir. I've got your calendar synced and ready for review. You've got 4 appointments today and the notes are on your desk." "Thank you. I'm expecting a call from my wife this morning. You can interrupt any meeting I'm in when she calls. She flew out to Washington, D.C. last night to console my idiot sister after the fiasco last month. Apparently, my brother-in-law filed for divorce." "Oh no. I hoped they would work it out," she said. "Good riddance to him, but my sister's a wreck. She feels like her shot at being First Lady was pulled out from under her. My wife feels bad for her and went to play grief counselor. Sorry, Mr. Morgan. I know how much Carly means to you. It must be hard for her to lose Senator Brown. She did it to herself. That swinging situation wasn't as well hidden as they thought. I warned her, but what do I know? I'm just her brother," he said. Senator Alan Brown was on the debate stage for the Democratic presidential nomination when his wife's affair with her female assistant broke in the news. The fallout was terrible initially, but his PR team worked their magic and his poll numbers actually improved. The sympathy from his supporters was going to carry him to the Democratic nomination. He continued, "Carly always had to have everything her way. She has such a strong charisma that people just bend to her will. I guess the other woman's husband didn't fall in line. We're all paying the price." "Well, the press hasn't called for a while, but I guess this may trigger some calls. Would you like me to prepare a statement or do you have no comment?" she asked. "No, I'm staying as far away from her situation as possible right now. If they call, tell them no comment. We don't need the company caught up in her personal issues. My mother is going to be angry enough as it is." Tate's wife Bella was having coffee with his sister that morning. Carly was as disheveled as Bella had ever seen her, and she was worried. Bella was always in awe of the beautiful, elegant woman, but what she was looking at was a mess that morning. Prior to the recent scandal, Carly would never be seen in front of a guest without her hair being styled perfectly, makeup expertly applied, and her clothes stylish and beautiful. That morning she woke without showering, did not brush her hair or teeth, did not apply makeup, and did not dress. She wore a silk bathrobe. "Bella, I'm going to go away quietly. I'm going to stay as far from the press as I can. I don't want to hurt Alan's chances of being president any more than I already have. His campaign manager actually thinks divorcing me will help him," Carly said. "I think it's unfair that he gets off without any consequences. He was involved with her too, among many others," Bella said. "I know, but he will do great things for the country. He has to have a chance. I only hope my stupidity hasn't hurt him. I never should have brought in that new girl. She was just so beautiful, I had to have her. Maybe after he leaves office, we can find each other again. Regardless of our issues now, we are still in love and I didn't do anything he didn't approve of or do himself. It's just horrible optics that I got caught like that. Carly, take a shower and I'll clean up down here. We need to get you on your feet. Why don't we go somewhere and get away from it all, okay? We can leave anytime. I have the company plane here. Carly rose up from her chair and walked over to Bella. She touched her cheek and leaned in to hug her. Bella returned the hug passionately. You taste good, Carly said, tasting the hazelnut creamer from the coffee Bella was drinking. Smiling, Bella said, brush your teeth. It had been a long night for Bella and Carly. When she arrived at Carly's apartment, the beauty could barely stand. She was so drunk. Bella helped her to bed. Carly was usually the one in control with her female lovers. Bella had been close with Carly and occasionally Alan ever since she married Tate 5 years prior. Carly was one of her bridesmaids and they had been close for the first time in the bridal room at the church. She had hoped Tate didn't notice Carly's scent on her breath at the altar, but he didn't, and he hadn't suspected anything over the years. Mr. Morgan, your wife is on line 1, Shauna said into the intercom. Tate picked up the phone and said, hey honey, how's she doing? She's a wreck. You should have seen her when I got here. The place was a mess and she was drunk. I could hardly get her in bed. Well, take care of her and keep her sober. My mother doesn't need any more stress over what she's done. I will. Baby, I think I need to get her out of DC for a few days. I'm going to take her to Napa Valley and visit a winery or two. I need to get her mind off of Alan and surrounded by some beautiful scenery. So much for keeping her sober. Oh, Tate. Don't be like that. She needs to relieve some stress. I'll take good care of her. I'm going to take her to my favorite vineyard. It has that cottage we like. Just keep her out of trouble and keep a low profile. She doesn't need any more trouble. I'll make sure she's kept occupied in her room. Love you. Bye. Bella opened the bathroom door and saw Carly standing applying lotion to her skin. Need some help? Yes, my love. I'd love a body rub from you. You always gave the best massages, Carly said. My pleasure. A small repayment for your help last night? Yes, well, I was very intoxicated. Too bad I passed out before I could reciprocate. Finish getting dressed and pack a bag. I'm going to call a bed and breakfast in Napa and see if they have a room for us. Later that day, they saw the press waiting for Carly, wanting a comment on the divorce papers being served. Ugh, I hate the press, Carly said. Just say no comment and we'll push through them to the car. It's waiting there. They walked past the reporters and made it into the car without being stopped. One of the reporters asked another, who was the other woman with her? That wasn't the assistant from the Tate. Maybe it's another lover. Wow. The next morning, Tate was on the treadmill watching the news when he saw the headline story. It was his wife holding Carly's hand boarding a private plane. The news anchor said, Carly Brown, after being served divorce papers, was seen leaving D.C. accompanied by an unidentified woman. It was not the woman from the infamous scandal video. Is this a new partner? They then spent 5 minutes debating how much the story hurt Alan Brown's bid for the nomination for Democratic presidential candidate. Unbelievably, he was still polling in the lead and had more delegates than his opponent. Tate threw the remote at the television and stormed off to shower. So much for keeping a low profile, he thought. As he pulled into the parking lot of his office, he saw Shauna in the window waiting for him. He smiled and was happy to see her at her post, as usual, waiting for him every morning. He couldn't help but think of her beauty and how she brightened up every morning when he walked into the office and saw her at her desk. It was a stark contrast to the sad woman that stood in the window waiting for him. He wondered what it was that made her so sad. He paid her well, she was the best at what she did, and she had a wonderful little boy who had just turned 5. He thought it may be some personal troubles, but she never spoke of them and never mentioned dates. She was professional in all aspects of her work, and they did not socialize outside of work-related functions or parties. He remembered a time when he had a dinner party for executives and the board of his company. She was also invited and was professional in his eyes. Bella, though, warned him that Shauna was interested in him. He laughed it off at the time because he believed it was just jealousy from his wife over Shauna's beauty. As he opened the glass door to her outer office, he saw her look up from her work and smile. Good morning, Mr. Morgan. Good morning, Shauna. If anyone from the press calls today, put them through. I need to clarify things today. It's not true, is it? She asked. The rumor about my wife and sister? No, the reporters just don't know that they're sisters-in-law. Phew. Thank goodness. Later that morning, his private cell phone rang, and he answered the call from his mother. Yeah, Mom, I'm aware of it, Tate said. Press has been calling all morning for comment on it. I told the reporters that they were just sisters-in-law, so hopefully it goes away. Tate, you have to get her to stay out of sight. Make her stay inside somewhere and let the heat die down. I agree, Mom. I told Carly the same thing, and I left another message for Bella, telling her to keep her inside at all times. No more publicity. Thanks, son. Keep me posted, Mrs. Morgan. So nice to see you again. No, Mr. Morgan. This time the clerk said at the registration desk. It was a simple vineyard tasting room. There were 6 shelves with various wines arranged like a library and 4-foot shelves along the outer walls with the rest of the winery's offerings. The center of the room was a horseshoe-shaped bar, where the tastings were held and guests could have wine by the glass. The small cottage-style building was surrounded by a deck, where tables and chairs were placed for patrons to enjoy a bottle of wine with snacks, while taking in the view of the vineyard and hills in the background. There was an old service road at the back of the vines about 150 yards from the main buildings. No, I'm here with my sister-in-law. Please keep it quiet. We don't need anyone knowing that we are here. Of course, Ma, I'm sorry, the cottages are booked. We have an apartment, though. It's the largest one with the balcony overlooking the vineyard and double beds. Here's the key. It's room 3. Bella smirked and said, Thank you, that's perfect. She was glad to be at one of her favorite spots in the world. With Tate's wealth, they could go anywhere, but she loved wine country. That vineyard had 3 small apartments and 2 cottages that they rented as a bed and breakfast. Normally, she and Tate would rent a cottage, but she and Carly were fortunate to get any room on short notice. It would do for her needs. They set their bags on the bed that they weren't going to be using and began to cuddle. This is going to be a great week, my friend. Just what I needed, Carly. Let me run out and get some essentials for the room. You're too high profile to be making unnecessary trips out in public right now. I know, Tate texted. Mother is irritated. She opened the door to the balcony and took in the beauty of the vineyard and rolling hills behind it. This is my favorite place in the world to relax, Bella said. Bella gave her a hug while standing on the large covered balcony, and they began to cuddle and hold each other. Bella pulled back, gave her one more hug, and left for the store. The paparazzi photographer couldn't believe his luck. He was told that the private plane was landing at Sonoma County Airport and had Carly Brown and an unknown woman on it. He rushed to the airport and was able to beat them there. He watched and took some photos as they got a rental car and loaded up. He followed them to the vineyard bed and breakfast and looked around while they checked in. He spotted the building with the apartments, 2 on the first floor and 1 on the top floor with a balcony. He looked around and saw the service road behind the rose grapevines. The vines would provide good cover for him to try to get some shots of them. He lucked out because not only did they get the only room with a balcony, they actually hugged while standing on it. Thank goodness for telescopic lenses, he thought. This photo is going to fund my kid's college education. The next morning, Shauna was having a cup of coffee when her mother came into the kitchen. Good morning, Mom. Good morning, sweetie. Mickey's up, but laying in bed with a book. I saw. I wish he slept in later, but at least he stays in his room. He's an early riser like his mama, but does take a nice long afternoon nap like his grandma. Yeah, he's a great kid. I'm lucky to have him. I don't know where I would be now if not for him. Everyone has their own fate. He was yours. You needed him to stop your wildness. I certainly couldn't get it out of you, I know, Mom. I thank God every day that I straightened up and was able to get the job with Mr. Morgan. So do I. Smiling, Shauna put her cup in the sink and headed out to work. She had moved her mother in with her to take care of Mickey once she bought the house. She had been living in a small apartment, and her mother commuted across town every day to watch Mickey. She always left her house at 4:45 in the morning, and she could make it into the office by 5. She didn't have to start until 7 per what Tate wanted, but she knew that if he was up at 5, she needed to be ready in case he needed her. It had happened a few times where he needed her to book a flight or cancel some meetings, and she was glad he didn't have to wait for her to get on with his day. As she drove into the office, she had the news station on the radio. Their top story was the photo of Bella and Carly hugging. "Oh my goodness," she exclaimed as she slammed on the brakes. She was so caught up in the radio, she almost ran a red light. She looked at the time and saw that it was 4:50. She knew Tate wouldn't be up yet, but as soon as he saw the news, he would need her to do something. She pulled over and searched for the story on her phone. Oh no, she thought when she saw the picture. She made a quick decision to go to Tate's house instead of the office. She may have had feelings for her married boss, but she could be there for him as a friend through the pain he was about to experience. Tate was making a cup of coffee when his doorbell rang. "Who's ringing me at 5 in the morning?" he thought. He opened the door and saw it was Shauna. "Hello, Shauna. I know I'm a laid-back boss and all, but isn't this a bit early for a visit, Tate? Turn on the news," she shouted frantically as she rushed in to pat him. He was more taken aback that she called him Tate than her urgency. She never did that. He liked it. "I heard it on the way into work." "I can't believe it's true," she said. She knew he hadn't seen the news yet because he didn't get on the treadmill until 5:15. He followed her into his den and saw she had turned on the news. "Fox, Shauna," he asked. She knew he usually watched MSNBC. Then he saw it. The picture was of Carly and Bella hugging. The headline said, "Carly Brown caught in love nest with sister-in-law." He collapsed onto the chair and buried his head in his hands. Shauna knelt next to him and put her hand on his shoulder. "Maybe it was a fake or something?" "Maybe there's an explanation," she asked. As a tear streamed down his cheek, he raised his head and exclaimed, "Inconsiderate person." He stood up and ran upstairs. Shauna followed him and asked, "What are you going to do, Mr. Morgan?" "Oh, I'm Mr. Morgan again, huh?" he joked as he started packing a bag. She blushed and said, "Sorry about that. I was panicking before. It won't happen again." "Don't worry about it. Tate is fine," he said. "What I'm going to do is get out there and stop their nonsense, whatever it is that they are doing. Shauna, cancel everything for the rest of the week. I need to get out to Napa. Get me a ticket for the first available flight." "On it, Sir Shauna," he asked softly. "Sir, thank you for being here. I'm always where you need me." Sir, she turned and left the room to get her tablet from the car and get his flight scheduled. He watched her as she left. He loved tall girls and she fits that bill. Her curly red hair, pulled back into a tight ponytail, was still damp, and it made him think about her being up and on her way to work that early. Is she always on her way to work at this hour, he thought. How have I never noticed that before? "Good morning, my pet." "Good morning," Carly Bella said. "Are you hungry? I'm famished." "It's already 10 o'clock. We can still get breakfast until 10:30 though. They have a lovely spread of fresh fruit and will make us omelets with locally grown ingredients." "Sounds good. Let's eat breakfast and come back up here for dessert." Carly picked up her cell and Bella took it from her. "No phones, no TV. We are here to relax, and you don't need to stress out over the news of your divorce." "You're right. Let's take a quick shower and head down." "No games in there. We need to be fast to make breakfast in time." Spoilsport. Tate's flight landed in California at 10 a.m. local time. His rental was waiting, but the drive to the vineyard took an hour. He pulled into the winery bed and breakfast, where the ladies were staying, just after 11:30. The ladies had just returned to their room. He recognized the owner standing at the bar and said, "Good morning, George." "Good morning, Mr. Morgan. You just missed them. They finished breakfast and went back to the room." "Okay. Do you have another key for the room?" "Absolutely. Marla will get it for you." He then asked his wife to give Tate a key to his wife and sister's room. She smiled as she handed it to him and said, "Glad to see you could make it. After all, Mr. Morgan. Enjoy your stay." He nodded and walked away. After having time to think on the flight, he had calmed down and hoped that it was a misunderstanding. They were wearing clothes in the photo. Maybe it was just a poorly timed picture that looked worse than it really was, he thought. Tate put the old-fashioned key in the lock and turned the handle. He heard noise as soon as he opened the door and almost felt sick at the sight of his wife with his sister. He took a picture with his cell phone and walked into the room. "You ingrate," he screamed. The ladies jumped up and Bella yelled, "Tate, what are you doing here, ending a marriage? I can't believe that you are fooling around with my sister." "Darn it, Tate, you don't understand," Carly said. "Darn it, Carly. Never speak to me again. You jerks were caught out and touching each other. You're all over the news again. I hoped it was faked or innocent, but I guess not. Tate, baby, I love you. This was. Just stop, Bella. Spare me the cliches. There's no excuse. This is cheating. We are done. No. Tate, listen. It's not her fault. Shut up, Carly. I hope you're happy. You've left another marriage in your wake. Mother is going to have a stroke. He turned and left them crying in the room. As he approached the front desk, the owner said, I just saw it on the news, Mr. Morgan. I'm sorry. Fortunately, there is no press outside yet. I'm expecting them, though. It doesn't matter, George. I'm not staying, he said as he tossed the key onto the desk. They can sort out their own mess. He sat in his rental car and called his lifeline, Shauna. Shauna, I walked in on them. It's real. They were being intimate. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. I'm on my way back to Sonoma County Airport. Get me a flight home as soon as possible. On it, sir. The press is calling nonstop and your mother came in. She's there. Yes, goodness. The place must be chaotic almost, sir. She has people running all over the place. She's upset and taking it out on everyone around her. She isn't calling you because I told her that you were in the air. Well, when the chairman is upset, problems arise quickly. She'll realize I'm not in the air anymore soon enough. I'll call her now. Get me the ticket, please. It's done. I did while we were talking. Your flight leaves at 2 local time. Thank you. I'd be lost without you, Shauna. She blushed at his praise and said, Thank you. I walked in on them, Mom. That awful sister of mine and my wife were being intimate. I'm going to confront her, Tate. How could she do this to the family? To you, I don't know, but she's cut off from me now. I'm seriously considering terminating her from her ceremonial position at the company. I'm fine with that, son. She's a PR nightmare right now. You have plenty of reason to let her go. Thank goodness Dad isn't alive to see what she's turned into. She must have a love addiction or something. It just doesn't make sense. What about Bella? She's history. I can't stay with a cheater. I'm truly sorry. At least you don't have children yet, I know. It will be a clean break. The prenup is straightforward. Did she give you any explanation? I didn't stay to hear one. I couldn't be there. I almost felt sick when I saw them. It was terrible. All right. Have a safe flight. I'll handle things down here. Hey, Shauna has that place running like a well-oiled machine. You won't be needed, I assure you. He said that to try to save his people from her wrath. She's something special. You're lucky to have her, don't I know it? All right, Mom. I'll be in touch. What am I going to do? Carly, Bella asked. Fight. You're going to fight. It's different with me and Alan. I don't want to cost him the election. You don't have that problem. He's not answering my calls. I have to get home. We will. But you need to have a plan. You don't want to go running off half-cocked. I can't believe we got caught. I thought this place was totally secluded. Why was I so dumb to hug you? Why was I so dumb to get involved with you in the first place? Stop that, Carly shouted. You're not dumb. He has to understand you need what a woman can give you as much as what he as a man can give you. He will come around. He loves you. He just needs to calm down. Goodness, I hope you're right. I can't lose him. I love him so much. You have to blame as much on me as you can. I'm already persona non grata with my family. It won't hurt me any to take the blame. Listen to yourself. It is your fault. You did that to me years ago. I should have never gotten involved with you. Oh, please. Goodness, I hope I can fix this, Bella said, knowing her odds were slim. Tate walked into his empty house and threw his bags on the floor. He had been ignoring his wife's calls and texts to that point and decided to finally call her back. Tate, baby, listen. I'm on my way home. We need to talk and work through this. I love you. Our marriage can't be over. Do not come home, Bella. I need a couple of days to calm down. I'll call you back on Sunday and give you a time for us to meet and talk. Okay. I'll get a room at the Hyatt and wait for you to call. Tate, please believe that I love you with all of my heart. Whatever. I am giving you one chance to explain yourself. If you lie to me, we're done. Believe me, I have found out more than you think. I know he hadn't found anything out. He was hoping that by saying that, it would cause her to be truthful. He had to know why she did it to him. I promise, I'll tell you everything. I love you, Tate. I'm sorry I've hurt you. We'll see. He hung up without saying that he loved her for the first time. He was going to call Shauna, but didn't want to disturb her at that time of night. He would call her in the morning and tell her he was taking the day off. Taking a Friday off wouldn't be an issue, and he would go in on Saturday to clean up any issues. Tate looked at the clock and saw it was 6:15 a.m. He was saddened by the fact that he would miss seeing Shauna waiting for him that day, but he smiled at the thought of her watching out into the darkness for him. He picked up the phone and called her. She was just finishing the coffee and was about to stand at her post in the window when her cell phone rang. She smiled when she saw it was Tate and answered professionally, "Good morning, Mr. Morgan." "Shauna, I'm not coming in today. Take care of any urgent matters and only call me if there's something you can't handle or if something can't wait." "Yes, sir. I'll take care of everything." "Is there anything that I can do for you?" "No. I'm going to get my affairs in order to prepare for divorce, sadly." She said, "I'm sorry, sir. This must be difficult for you." "Well, it's really sad is what it is. 5 years of marriage down the drain. I still don't know everything and I certainly don't know why yet, but I'll be talking with her on Sunday. Maybe I'll get some answers, but I'll probably just get nonsense." "Sir, do you want me to get Vivian James looking into this?" Vivian was the company's private investigator on retainer. "It's a great idea. See if Viv can gather any background information. She may want to start with that personal assistant and her husband that caused Carly's divorce. Also, Bella will be staying at the Hyatt." "On it, sir. I'll be here if you need me. You always are. Thank you, Viv. It's Shauna." "Mr. Morgan has an assignment for you." "Hi, Shauna. I figured I'd be hearing from you. What does he need?" "Background information on his wife and sister's relationship. See what you can find out about how long, how often, if there are any others, etc." "Okay, anything else? I'd like you to keep an eye on her. I want to make sure she's behaving. She's staying at the Hyatt." "Okay, no problem, Viv. Obviously, this is a top priority, of course. I'll keep you updated with any developments, and you can pass them along to Mr. Thank you." Saturday morning, Tate pulled into the office. He saw that his office light was on, but didn't see Shauna waiting for him. Then he realized it was Saturday and she wouldn't be there. He walked into the building and through the main foyer to the executive suite of offices. As he opened the door to his outer office where Shauna sat, he heard noises from his closed office. He saw no indication that she was there, so he hesitated briefly before going in. Once he opened the door, he saw a small child playing with some train cars. "Hello, who might you be?" "Hi, I'm Mickey. Mama told me to wait here." "Oh yeah," he said as he sat on the floor with the boy. "Where did your mommy go to get me some juice and crackers?" Tate chuckled and said, "That explains why I have apple juice in my fridge." "What are you playing trains?" "I have tracks at home, but look, these lines can be tracks." "They sure can." Mickey. Shauna walked up a moment later and almost cried when she saw Tate rolling a train and Mickey making a choo-choo sound. "Good morning, sir. I'm sorry about this. I only bring him in on Saturday because I like to give my mom a break on the weekends. If it's a problem." He cut her off saying, "It's not a problem. I haven't played trains in years." She smiled and gave the juice and cookies to Mickey. "Mickey, let's get you out of Mr. Morgan's way. He's got work to do." "Okay, Mama." "No, Shauna. He's fine. I'm just going to check email and put out any fires from yesterday." "What are you doing here, by the way?" "Oh, I always come in for a couple of hours on Saturday morning. It helps make Monday morning smoother. I was also meaning to ask you if you are always on your way to work at 5 a.m. "Yes, I am. I like to make sure that everything is ready for you when you come in. I don't want you to have to wait until you come in if you need me for something." "And your mother watches Mickey?" She nodded yes. "Isn't that rough on her?" "No, sir. She lives with us. She's an early riser too, so it's not a problem. You do know that I appreciate everything you do for me." She smiled and said, "Yes, of course. Well, I won't keep you then. Don't worry about my train buddy here. We're okay, thank you." Sir Tate was finally seeing the sausage being made. He didn't realize the amount of extra time Shauna put into her work. He resolved to pay closer attention and to not assume everything was always smooth. It took Shauna great effort and sacrifice to make it smooth for him. "Shauna." "Yes, sir." "Send your mother a bouquet of flowers from me. Please, she'll love that, sir." "I'll send her favorites, thank you." After an hour of answering emails, Tate said, "Mickey, what's your favorite breakfast?" "Pancakes." "What kind?" "Chocolate chip." He smiled and nodded yes. Tate walked over to Shauna and said, "Wrap it up, Shauna. We're going for pancakes." "You don't have to do that." "Why not?" "I'm hungry. And my little train buddy likes chocolate chip pancakes, she smiled and said. He only gets those for special treats, okay? We'll call it a special treat morning then. Let's go to Apple Villa. They've got the best pancakes around. Okay. Thank you, she tried to temper her excitement. Not only was he great with her son, but he was taking them to breakfast. She never associated with him outside of work functions. Even when he hosted employees at his home for parties, she treated it like work. She knew that he was having problems with Bella, and she didn't want to interfere. She felt that she had to stay within professional boundaries and not show him how attracted to him she was, not how in love with him she was. They got a booth at the restaurant, and he insisted on Mickey sitting with him so they could color on the placemat together. He's a messy eater, sir. You may regret that, she said. What 5-year-old isn't messy? We'll be fine, and Shauna, you can call me Tate. We're not at work. Yes, sir, he frowned and said. That means no sir crap either. He got an elbow bump from Mickey and said, what was that for bad word? Ah. I'll watch it. Shauna started laughing at them and felt happier than she had in years. As they left the restaurant, Tate said, thank you for joining me for breakfast. I needed some company. I needed to get Carly and Bella off my mind for a while. Thank you. Hopefully everything works out for you. I doubt it. Divorce is a foregone conclusion. It's just a matter of time. I really can't stand cheaters. Her heart sank with his comment. He didn't know her story, so he didn't know about the end of her marriage. Hopefully he never asked. She would hate for him to feel differently about her. Viv, what do you have? He's meeting with her today and would like as much info as possible, Shauna said early Sunday morning. I spoke to Carly's PA, who was hesitant to give any info, but she didn't know much about Carly and Bella's relationship. She said that she knew Bella, but nothing personal. What else? I really need more time to dig, but right now I can't put them together romantically in the past. It's really too early to make that call though. All right. Thank you, please stay on it. What about the tale? She hasn't left her room for the last couple of days. She had only one visitor, and that was Carly. Interesting, she left after a half hour, so it's not likely there was anything going on there. Okay, thank you. Keep the tail on her. Shauna called Tate to give him the preliminary report. Shauna, you're not working on Sunday, are you? No, sir. I just wanted to fill you in on what Vivian has found. Okay. Anything bad? No, sir. She needs more time. She doesn't have anything to show a relationship prior to this week. Okay, I guess that's good. Have her stay on it. Already done. Sir, thank you. Shauna. Bella's phone rang, and her heart leaped when she saw that it was Tate. Hi, Tate. Bella, come to the house at noon. I'll give you 30 minutes to explain yourself and convince me that we should stay married. She started crying and said, okay, honey. I love you so much. Save it, Bella. If you loved me that much, we wouldn't be in this situation. He hung up as she sobbed. At noon, Bella walked into her home, and she hoped it would continue to be her home. She had no idea what would come of their conversation. Tate was in the kitchen waiting for her. He was drinking a soda when she sat at the table. It's your show, Bella. Tate, I really do love you. You can't ever doubt that. What we have is different than what happened with Carly. How long? The first time was 5 years ago. Goodness gracious. How long after the wedding did it start? She paled at the question, but she knew she had to be honest to have a chance. Actually, it started on our wedding day. He exclaimed, oh my goodness. She flinched at his reaction. Continuing, she explained, we were drinking champagne all morning while we were getting ready. I was pretty well buzzed by the time we got to the church. I don't know how she arranged it, but we were alone for a bit before the ceremony. She out of nowhere hugged me. I was shocked. I still don't know why I did it, but I dropped to my knees in the church. Right before our wedding? Goodness, you're not good. She started crying and continued, I can't explain it. She drew me in, and it felt like it was the only thing I wanted to do. I had been with girls before in college, so I wasn't unfamiliar with my alternate side. I sure as heck was. Do I even know you, Tate? I'm the same woman that you fell in love with. There's just a small part of me that you didn't know about. A small part? Fooling around with my sister on our wedding day is pretty big to me. Have you carried it on all of these years? Yes, but only a couple of times a year have there been any others. That was Bella's final moment of truth. Did she dare tell him about Alan or not? She decided that he didn't know about Alan, so she lied. There's been no one else, I promise. It was only Carly. and it was only because she scratched a particular itch. Now it makes sense why you never let me touch you in that way. You could pretend your relationship with Carly was necessary. You are deluded. So, why should we stay married? Tate, I love you. Until you found out about this, we were happy. We were going to have kids, just another thing you've taken from me. No, we still can. We can go to couples therapy. We can be together forever. She was spent. She had nothing left to say. Tate listened to all of her explanations and couldn't take any more. That's it then. You've never been loyal to me. You've been unfaithful, and in the worst possible way, with my own sister. You even disrespected me on our wedding day. There is no way I can stay married to you. She cried and said, no. Yes, we're done. I'm going to file for divorce and follow the agreement. You won't get anything more than what is required. I'm going to leave you alone now. You can pack your belongings. I won't change the locks until it's all settled. I trust you won't make me regret it. I'm so sorry, Tate. I love you so much. Yeah, so you've said. He left her crying at the table. Tate was sitting in his mother's family room waiting for her to come down. They needed to talk about what to do with Carly. Well, how did it go, Mrs. Morgan asked, walking into the room. Terrible, Tate answered. Carly manipulated her on my wedding day, and it's continued since then on your wedding day. My goodness, yeah, needless to say, my marriage is over. I can't stay with her, I understand. I don't blame you. We need to handle the media, though. This is in the news every day, and our stock price is down 5%. I know. I'm going to ask Carly to step down, and I'll announce it in the morning before the market opens. That should solve our problem. Her shares are protected by our father's trust, so I won't try to take them from her. I vote them by proxy anyway. That's all right, but I think your pending divorce will affect us as well, maybe. I'm going to say that our separation is friendly and won't affect the company. She won't get any of my shares according to the agreement. Oh my, what a mess your sister has caused. We need to get her into therapy right away. There's definitely something wrong with her. Certainly. She's self-centered. She thinks she can do whatever she wants without considering the consequences. I hope you understand that I won't be speaking with her directly after today. I just can't forget what she did to me, I understand. Hopefully our family can recover from this someday. I certainly hope so. Tate was not very hopeful. Tate called Carly, but got her voicemail. Carly, tomorrow morning I am releasing a statement announcing your resignation. I am not trying to take your shares, so you'll keep your ownership according to the trust. I anticipate that I will still vote your shares. Please do not cause any more trouble. You've caused enough problems for the family and the company. Our mother wants you to start seeing a therapist too. You have harmed your life enough with your addiction and self-centeredness. We are all suffering because of it. Carly listened to his message and cried. She didn't believe she had a problem. She thought that everyone else had the problem. Modern marriages should not be limited by old-fashioned expectations, she thought. She decided not to call Tate. She feared that he would yell at her and call her hurtful names. Forget about him and his outdated moral beliefs, she thought. She sent him a text, I willingly resign. I won't cause any more problems for the company or the family. Shauna stood by the window waiting for Tate's arrival. She thought about the lovely morning they all spent at breakfast. Tate was so kind to Mickey, and Mickey asked her if he was coming over to play trains with him again. She was torn between hoping Tate became available so she could have a chance at happiness with him, and hoping he didn't become available because he would surely ask her about her past. She would have no chance after that. She could never lie to him. As Tate pulled into the parking lot, he saw her watching from the window. He loved seeing her there every morning waiting for him. He wondered if he could transition from divorce to beginning a relationship with his beautiful assistant. Do we have any policies about dating, he thought. Then he thought, why don't I know the answer to that? He knew it was because he relied on Shauna for that information. While he dealt with business matters, human resources dealt with policies. He had Shauna to provide policy information when he needed it. As he entered Shauna's outer office, he saw her look up at him as she always did. A bright smile appeared on her face and she said, "Good morning, Mr. Morgan." "Hello, Shauna." He saw her eyes scanning him up and down and he decided to confront her playfully. "Did I spill something, huh?" "No, I was just checking to see if you had spilled anything so I could let you know." She thought to herself, oh no, He caught me staring and now I'm babbling like a fool. He laughed and said, "What would I do without you?" Then walked into his office. That was enjoyable, he thought. She was obviously flustered and he decided to keep that going. He felt good knowing a woman was interested in him and wondered how he never noticed her interest before. Not that it mattered. He was completely faithful to Bella and would never have considered being unfaithful. Tate called his lawyer and had him prepare the divorce paperwork. He asked him to expedite the process if possible. He allowed himself to feel one more moment of sadness for his once happy marriage. Then he pushed it aside. There was work to be done. A company to protect. Thousands of people depended on him. "Shauna, please come in," he called out. "Yes, sir," she said, rushing in with her tablet. "Shauna, I need a press release prepared to announce my sister's resignation. Then I need Paul Daniels to come in immediately so I can officially promote him to the job he's been doing since she left." She was momentarily shocked, then said, "Should I schedule a press conference or just release a statement?" "Just release the statement. Refer all questions to our media relations team. Paul can show that he deserves his new position. Just so you know, I'm filing for divorce." She didn't look up from her tablet, but briefly smiled. "I will release a joint statement with Bella later this week, announcing a friendly separation. We need to make sure that my divorce doesn't affect the share value. I won't answer questions about it, so if the press calls, direct them to Paul." She wrote down the notes on her tablet and he said, "Any questions?" "No, sir." "All right. Carry on." She started to walk out, but he stopped her. "Shauna, what are the company's policies on dating?" She looked at him curiously and said, "There are 2 policies. For employees below the managerial level, managers cannot have a romantic relationship with their direct reports. For executive employees, they cannot have a relationship with anyone on the board. However, there are exceptions for transfers within departments and waivers from human resources under certain circumstances." He smiled and said, "Thank you, Shauna." She nodded and left. What was that about? She wondered. Does he have his eye on someone at the company? The week went on without major issues. The announcements of his sister's resignation and his divorce had little impact on the share price. By Friday, Bella had signed the divorce papers and his attorney assured him that it would be a quick process since the prenup was solid. Tate decided to buy Bella a condo to make the divorce easier for her. On Saturday, Tate was running on the treadmill when he thought about the previous week and having breakfast with Shauna and Mickey. He took a chance and went to the office hoping to see them there. He wanted it to seem like another spontaneous encounter rather than a planned date. As he pulled into the parking lot, he began to have doubts. Was it too soon to get to know Shauna on a personal level? He decided to take it slow and play it cool. Starting with innocent breakfasts and lunches would be a great way to start building a personal connection. He entered the room as quietly as possible and admired her figure as he said, "Good morning, Shauna." She had her back turned to him and jumped in surprise. "Mr. Morgan, you scared me. I'm sorry. Good morning, sir. Let me make you some coffee." "Only if you're having some. I won't be here long." "All right." She didn't plan on having any coffee, but went to make a pot anyway. "Hey, little man," he said to Mickey, who was playing with toy cars that day. "Hi, Mr. Tate. Want to play cars?" "Sure, I can play cars." "Do you know what kind they are?" "Yeah, this is a Porsche, this is a race car, this is a Jaguar, and this is a Ford." "Mommy has a Ford?" "Oh yeah." "Aha, have you ever seen a real Jaguar?" he asked using the child's pronunciation. "Nope, let's go near the window." He picked up the boy and carried him to the window. "Look down there. See the silver car? That's my Jaguar. Can I go for a ride?" "Well, that's up to your mom. I tell you what, how about we go for pancakes again and we take my car? What do you think about that? Can I have whipped cream this time?" Laughing, Tate said, "That's up to your mom." Buddy Shauna was in the kitchen waiting for the coffee. She wondered why Tate was at the office that day. He rarely worked on weekends, let alone 2 in a row. She thought maybe since he was getting divorced, he could work on Saturdays without worrying about his wife giving him a hard time. She didn't realize that he wasn't working at all and hadn't even logged into his computer. She walked into his office and saw him playing cars with her son. "Ahem, I have your coffee, Mr. Morgan, thank you." "You don't have to play with him, sir. He's fine. You don't have to let him distract you from your work." "No way. Miss a chance to play cars?" "Never. By the way, would you and Stinky like to go for pancakes again? I'm not Stinky, Mickey protested. No, Mr. Morgan. You don't have to do that, correct? I want to. So, yes, sure. That would be nice, great. Let me know when you're ready to go. I'll keep Stinky occupied. Give me 10 minutes and I'll be ready. Oh, if it'll be that quick, Mickey wants to ride in my car. Would you mind if I move his booster seat to my back seat? He wanted to ride in your car. Yeah, he has a little Jaguar here, so I showed him my real one. She laughed at him, using the boy's misspeak. Then said, okay, I'll meet you downstairs, then see Mon Stinky. Let's check out my car that began a series of weeks where he pretended to work on Saturday and took them to breakfast. They never spoke of anything personal other than small talk. Tate hadn't asked about her past or Mickey's father, and she didn't offer the information up. His divorce became final after 60 days and the publicity cooled off. Alan Brown won the nomination and was heavily favored to beat a brash businessman from Texas, who was the Republican nominee. Carly did go to therapy and their mother reported her status to Tate regularly. He refused to have anything to do with her, but was happy she was getting help and doing well for his mother's sake. Tate decided that he was finally free of the ghost of his marriage, and he was going to take things to a new level with Shauna. He had noticed that she didn't look as sad when he pulled into the parking lot anymore. He hoped that meant that she was happier and hoped that meant that he was part of that. He pulled into the office on dark September morning and didn't see Shauna. When he walked in, there was no one at her desk. He called her every 10 minutes but kept getting her voicemail, and his texts were not answered. He was getting more concerned when a woman knocked on his door. Good morning, I'm Jan. Shauna fell yesterday and is in the hospital. They kept her for observation. She's got a nasty concussion. I'll be here for the week. He jumped up and grabbed his keys. Cancel all of my appointments for today. What hospital is she at? St. Alexander's. She's in room 1102. Okay, send 24 white roses and one of those big get well soon bouquets to her. Use my card. Here. He ran out the door and sped over to the hospital. He frantically rushed up to room 1102 and saw her sleeping. Visiting hours were still an hour away, but no one saw him go in. When he walked into the dark room, he saw a couch near the window and a recliner chair next to the bed. He sat in the chair and held her hand. He checked his email and read the news with his free hand and never let go of her left hand with his right. A nurse came in after a half hour and smiled at him. Our secret. Just don't wake her, she said. He nodded his thanks. As soon as visiting hours opened, an older lady came into the room and was startled to see him there holding her hand. She smiled at him and said, Mr. Morgan, I presume. Yes, Mom. Are you her mother? Yes. Thank you for the beautiful flowers you sent me. My pleasure. Thank you for helping her with Mickey so she can work crazy hours. You're here kinda early, aren't you? I came as soon as I heard. I'm considering firing whoever didn't call me as soon as they were notified she was hurt. Oh, don't blame them. I called into the main line and left a message. I didn't have a way to call you directly, and she was out of it okay. How is she? She'll be okay, I guess. She was having dizzy spells, so they wanted to keep her and watch her. What happened? The house steps handrail broke. She lost her balance and fell back into the sidewalk. He let go of Shauna's hand and called his maintenance manager. Frank, it's Tate Morgan. I need you to get my assistant Shauna's address from the temp there now and get a man over to her house. The railing on her front steps broke and it's put her in the hospital. I'll send Mike over there now. We'll get it done, thanks. Frankie hung up and her mother smiled as he grabbed Shauna's hand again. So, Mr. Morgan, you've been spending a lot of Saturdays with my daughter and grandson. Yes, it's become our habit to go to breakfast after work on Saturdays. When are you going to take her on a real date? Before an embarrassed Tate could answer, Shauna groggily said, Mom, leave him alone. Tate stood up and said, How are you feeling? Do you need some water? Pain meds. She smiled and opened her eyes. Squeezing his hand in a show of gratitude, she said, Don't fuss over me. I'm doing okay. A nurse came in then with the flower delivery. Well, someone is loved. What beautiful roses. As Shauna read the card, he said, From the company, huh? Well, they are beautiful, thank you. She handed him the card and it read, Get well soon. Love, Tate. He frowned and wished Jan wasn't a temp so he could fire her. Shauna looked at him with a smile and said, I know that look. Don't you dare fire them, okay? Well, the sentiment is what counts, right? Sure, later that day, her mother left, but Tate was still there. She decided that she would break the ice and ask, "Sir, why are you still here with me? Not that I mind it, but you've got a business to run. Nothing is more important to me right now than you. There's no place I'd rather be that's sweet. Thank you, it's funny, what your mom said earlier. I was actually going to ask you out to dinner when I got to work today." Really, yes. Seeing you looking out the window for me every morning is one of the better parts of my day, and what we do on Saturdays is amazing. I thought it would be even better if I took it up a notch. I didn't know you noticed me doing that, MMMH. I know it's only so you know when to pour my coffee, but I get to see you without you noticing me looking. You used to look so sad. It's like that was your quiet time when you were alone with your thoughts. I don't look sad anymore. Not for a couple of months. I'm thinking of happier things now. But this isn't the time for that discussion, so is that a yes on dinner? Yes, love, Tate. Jan, he said before she could even say good morning. Was that wrong, Mr. Morgan? When you said white roses, I assumed that's what you'd want. Why, white roses symbolize everlasting love. Wow. I had no idea, he said, shaking his head. Don't worry about it. She loved them. Tate and Shauna were sitting in the lounge of his favorite restaurant waiting for their table. They were both sipping a glass of white wine and enjoying each other's company when Tate said, "May I ask about Mickey's father? You never mention him, and it seems like he's not in the picture." She dreaded that moment and took a drink before saying, "No, he's never been in the picture. Mickey's never met him." "Oh, sorry, deadbeat dad, huh? Not exactly. Why don't we save that conversation until after dinner, okay?" "Sure. I didn't mean to touch a nerve, it's all right. We have to talk about it eventually. It may as well be tonight." He pulled into her driveway and turned off the car. He turned to her and said, "I had a great time tonight." "Me too. Thank you for dinner. Would you like to come in for a drink and a story?" He could tell that she was uncomfortable, so he gave her an out. "Look, we don't have to. If you aren't ready to talk about it, then we can kick the can down the road." "No, let's get it out of the way. To be honest, you need to know, and I don't want to waste your time if you'll not want to continue seeing me. Wow. That bad. All right, let's talk." They sat in her living room, together on the couch with a glass of wine. "Tate, I'm going to tell you everything. I could have lied, but I feel strongly about never lying to you, okay?" he said. "I was married 6 years ago to a good man. That marriage fell apart indirectly because of my pregnancy with Mickey. When I was in college, I was a party girl. I drank, I smoked pot, did some coke, took X, and slept around. I met Dale, my ex-husband, at a graduation party and fell head over heels in love with him. He was as straight-laced as a person could be. Religious, drank very little, hated drugs, and was basically my opposite. I cleaned my act up and started dating him. We married within a year. I was so in love that it hurt. One day after being married for 6 months, we went out dancing. I was drunk, and while I was in the bathroom, some girls were doing lines. They asked if I wanted a hit, and in my drunkenness, I accepted. When I went back to our table, I guess I had some crystals on the edge of my nostril, and Dale noticed. He got pissed and we got into a fight. It got so bad that he walked out and left me there. I was so pissed at him, I stayed and kept partying. I ended up going home with some guy I picked up there. When I woke up the next day in a strange house, I panicked. I called a cab and went home to face the music, crying the whole way. I walked into the house, and when Dale saw me, he could tell what I had done and left me. I cried for hours after he left. Eventually, he came back and I told him about my past history. We went to counseling and everything was going fine until I missed my period. When the doctor estimated our due date, Dale did the math and wanted a DNA test. We did a prenatal test and my worst fear came true. Mickey was not Dale's child. Dale really tried, but couldn't come to grips with being reminded of my cheating every single day. The divorce was final 2 days before Mickey was born. I didn't pay attention from where I was taken home and didn't remember the guy's name, so Mickey has had to suffer without a father. He handles it okay, but it's getting harder now that he is interacting with kids at school that have dads. But he doesn't push too hard. Tate had been holding her hand while she told her story and finally spoke. "I see. So you felt that because I couldn't forgive my wife for betrayal." I won't want to pursue a relationship with you, right? Then they heard a voice say, Mommy? Mr. Tate. I can't sleep. She got up and picked up Mickey. Tate, take care of your son. I'll head out. Good night, Mickey. Good night, Shauna, he said as he left. She took Mickey to bed, hugged him, and cried herself to sleep. Tate struggled with what she told him and barely slept at all. When he crawled out of bed at 7 a.m., he was upset, but not angry. He couldn't understand why he loved her despite her mistakes. He was convinced that he did love her. He remembered that it was Saturday, and he thought about the fact that he was missing breakfast with Shauna and Mickey. He loved the boy too, and it hurt him to think that the child would be upset if he didn't get pancakes and ride in the Jaguar. Tate had even bought a booster seat for his car. He was never one to avoid a problem, so he dressed and left for the office. He would work through his feelings and make an effort. He felt that she was worth it. As he walked into the office, she wasn't at her desk. He opened his office door and saw a puddle of apple juice. What happened here? He said to Mickey. Drop it. Tastes better if it goes in your mouth, buddy. Mom went to get paper towels. She says you are going to be mad, but you look happy. I'm always happy to see you. Stinky, I'm not stinky. Well, I'm not mad. Are we getting pancakes today? Mom said we can't go anymore. Oh, she's wrong about that. I need my pancakes, me too. Extra whipped cream. Tate. He looked up and smiled. Mickey says we can't go for breakfast anymore. How am I going to have pancakes, Shauna? When you left last night, I thought you wouldn't want to see me anymore. He stood up and said, Mickey, we'll be right back. He took her hand and pulled her out into her outer office. Look, I was shocked last night. Am I afraid that you're like my wife? No. Am I afraid you're some kind of junkie? No. Am I worried that if you're once a cheater, you're always a cheater? I don't know. Tate, I'd never hurt you. I know you wouldn't. On purpose. I'm sure Dale would have said the same thing until that night she started crying and he pulled her into a hug. Look, I have trust issues, but I love you and I'm willing to work through them with you. She backed away. Wait. Do you really love me? Smiling, he said. Yeah, I do. I love you too, she said as she cried into his shoulder. Can we have pancakes now? Came a voice from behind them. As soon as Mommy's ready, kiddo, he hugged her and said, I'll clean up the apple juice. Finish up running the company without me so we can go. With a mouthful of pancakes, Mickey said, Mr. Tate, can you catch? Sure can. Can you catch? Yeah, but when I play catch with Mommy, she drops it all the time. Tate laughed at the thought of her dropping the ball every time. Well, Mommy might not know how to. Maybe we can teach her. Why don't you play catch with me? Then Mommy doesn't have to learn. She had a tear falling down her cheek. Tate looked at her and smiled. I'll play with you, but I have to get a mitt. You don't catch footballs with a mitt, Mickey said, laughing. Nope, I can catch a football without a mitt. I can throw far. Mommy says I can be a football player when I grow up. Sure can, bud. What's your favorite team? The Bears. Really? Your mom didn't tell me that. Would you like to go to a game with me? I have season tickets. Yeah, can we watch them play the Packers? Only if Mom says okay. They both looked at a smiling Shauna, who still had wet eyes. She said, Mr. Tate can take you anywhere he wants. Mickey. Tate reached over and grabbed a piece of her bacon and broke it in half. He handed half to Mickey and said, Mickey, can we play catch this afternoon? I want to see your train tracks too. The boy nodded happily as he ate the bacon. Shauna didn't react. She was in a state of bliss, watching Tate treat Mickey like a son. She hoped that Tate wouldn't break their hearts. Shauna and Tate went to dinner that evening, and instead of going back to her house, Tate took her to his. Sitting on the couch drinking sodas, Tate said, Shauna, we are in a tricky spot and have to really be careful. Mickey and I are bonding, and if anything happens between us, he could get hurt. I know. We started this backward. We became a quasi-family before we became a couple. Look, we've known each other in a working relationship for a few years. I've seen you almost every day in that time, so I'm fairly comfortable with you as a person. We've been dating each other for a couple of months, now if you count our Saturday breakfasts. When I said I love you, I meant it. Will we end up married? I don't know. I'll tell you this though, I'm committed to you and you're the one that I want. Tate, can you forget my past? I promise I've changed. No, I can't forget it. I don't have to worry about it though. If I let that weigh on my mind, we'll never have peace. I'm willing to try and I'm willing to trust you. You've never let me down before, and I expect that you never will. Tate, hug me before I attack you with pleasure. Love Tate pulled her in and began to hug her passionately. Shall we take this upstairs, he asked. Was all she could reply as she stood and let him guide her to his bed. As they helped each other, she begged, be nice. It's been years since I've been with anyone, I promise, he said. I want to make you feel good. Oh, Tate, she said. She pulled him up for a hug. As they got close, they both felt an overwhelming sense of happiness and love. They cuddled together after, feeling a deep sense of love and contentment. I never want to let you go, Tate whispered, holding her close. I feel the same way, Shauna replied. They drifted off to sleep, wrapped in each other's arms, knowing that they had found something truly special. A year passed and they grew closer together. They had a simple wedding with family and friends, and Tate officially became Mickey's father. Shauna is expecting twins, and their love for each other keeps growing. Every time he arrives at work, he sees Jan watching from the window for him. Shauna trained her well to replace her, but Tate never felt the same about Jan as he did seeing Shauna in that window. Bella continued to try to rebuild her relationship with Tate but finally stopped when their wedding was announced. She eventually remarried and had a son. Tate discovered Bella's involvement in threesomes with Carly and Alan through his investigator, but decided to keep it private to spare his mother from hearing any more about Carly's scandalous life. Carly, against Tate's and her lawyer's advice, agreed to pay a significant settlement to Bill Frayne. He was the husband of one of Carly's acquaintances, the one involved in the incident. He ended up revealing the story that led to President Alan Brown's resignation due to the scandal. Once the controversy settled, Alan and Carly reconciled. Tate was surprised by this, but Carly had always claimed that they were truly in love and that their open relationship arrangements were okay with them. Tate rarely interacted with them. He never felt the need to inquire about their current lifestyle choices.